Now calling case number 23350-520, Peter Sarowski versus Jamel Crowell on Helen Street in the city of Detroit. This matter is scheduled for pretrial on a complaint for non-payment of rent. Can I have the parties present for this matter please come forward? Both parties?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good morning, sir. What's your name?
Peter Sarowski.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Sarowski. My court clerk tells me that the defendant checked in today. We're going to go find him. The court officer is going to go look for him now. Good morning, sir. What is your name?
Good morning. My name is Jamel Crowell.
Okay, thank you. Can I have you both raise your right hands?
Excuse me, sir, but why in the doohickey do you have that feather in your head? But carry on.
Do you both swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can lower your hands. Okay, this is a complaint for non-payment of rent. Have the parties spoken? Have you talked to try to resolve this?
And before we proceed with the hearing here, I'd like to establish that the contract is actually under California law. The 36th District Court does not have jurisdiction over said contract. And furthermore, the plaintiff here has not a deed on file and has not had proof that he has not been compliant with laws and Michigan to actually own his home.
Who told you that the court doesn't have jurisdiction over the contract, sir?
Because it's under governing California law.
The house is in Detroit.
Yeah.
Is the house in Detroit?
Yes.
Okay, the court has jurisdiction.
The contract itself is under California law, so that's true.
Okay, Mr. Sarowski, do you have a deed?
Yes.
Can you give it to the court officer? Thank you. Mr. Sarowski, is there some paragraph in the contract that says that this is to be interpreted by California law?
No.
Mr. Crowell, where are you getting this California law from?
When you look at the actual contract itself, it'll actually say that the governing law is California. Or the second to the last one.
I don't even know why that would be in the contract. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it may say that. Oh, it does. It says this agreement is to be governed under the laws located in the state of California. Why would you all agree to that?
Typo.
Uh-oh. For the first time, a sovereign citizen was actually right. He saw something in the contract that wasn't right, and he exposed it. Too bad it isn't going to work for him, because if you didn't pay your rent, then you didn't pay your rent. It doesn't matter what state the court has jurisdiction in. You didn't pay your rent. You were the person renting. You don't own the property. Therefore, you're more than likely going to get evicted.
Okay, well, whatever the case, the property is in the city of Detroit. And so this is the place to file any kind of, eviction action. All right. Mr. Sarowski just presented the court with a deed that conveys the property commonly known as Helen Street in the city of Detroit to Mr. Sarowski. This was signed on March 5th, 2021. Did you record this, sir? Did you record this at the Wayne County Register of Deeds?
Yes.
Okay, this one is not recorded. But did you actually take this to the Wayne County Register of Deeds, or take a copy to the Wayne County Register of Deeds? All right, so did you live in California at some point?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay, because there's a lot of California stuff on here, so I was just wondering. All right, so how much is owed in rent?
1,500. 2 months.
So rent is $750 per month?
Correct.
Mr. Crowell, what do you have to say in response to that?
I have the actual evidence here that showed that he was not in compliance with the actual agreement or the actual, or even having the property as home or compliance. So the whole concept itself.
What evidence do you have, sir?
is-
Have you showed it to him? Show it to him before you give it to the court officer. Show it to Mr. Sorosky.
We're not compliant with Michigan law. This is the address here, if I'm understanding correctly. Is this the said address on Helen Street, right, Michigan 4211? All right.
Just show it to him. I don't need you to examine him. Just show it. Show him the paperwork.
Yes.
Sir, have you spoken to a defense attorney today, by the way?
Legal to.
Thank you. Sir, do you have, when I say, I'm calling everybody, sir, Mr. Sorosky, do you have a certificate of compliance from the city of Detroit?
No.
All right, Mr. Crow, why haven't you paid your rent? Did you hear me, sir? Yeah, just take a deep breath and relax. Is there a reason why you haven't been paying the rent?
The contract is not involved.
So you think you can just stay in the house without paying rent? I'm sorry? Do you think you can stay in the house without paying rent? You know what? I'm gonna pass on this matter so Mr. Crow can get himself together. Have a seat, sir. And as a matter of fact, you may want to go speak to a defense attorney. Go to room 417, please. Would you like to speak to a defense counsel?
No, I don't need to.
All right, well, do you have yourself together? Because every time I ask you a question, there's like a delayed response. Is everything okay with you, sir?
If I may, Your Honor, this man is having delayed responses when you ask him a question because he's trying to gather his thoughts to get his lie together. This man clearly doesn't have a legitimate reason why he stopped paying rent. So when you ask him certain questions, he has to pause and think about the nonsense that he's about to tell you before he says it out loud. That's all.
Do you want to proceed now, or do you need to get yourself together?
Well, actually, I would like to, as long as everything is established that I spoke about before and proceeded, I'm good with proceeding.
Okay, well, you can say what you want to say, sir. I just need to know. So are you putting the rent in escrow? Did you hear what I said, sir? You know what? I don't have time for this, sir. If you have an issue, you need to step outside and get yourself together. I'm going to recall the matter so Mr. Crowell can get himself together. I'll call this when we come off a break. Please go into the hallway or sit in the gallery so you can get yourself together, sir. Well, I keep asking you questions and you're not responding to me. I'm trying to move this case forward, but you're not saying anything when I ask you questions. And so that's telling me that something is wrong. Okay. You need to speak up, please, for the court reporter. All right. So, and that's cool if you need to do that. Just tell me, like, when I ask you a question, how much time do you need to breathe? Because we've been up here for a while.
This judge is playing no games with this fool.
All right. You know what? I'm going to pass on this matter. Please go to room 417 to speak to a defense attorney. Okay. Mr. Sorosky, I'll recall the matter when we come back. Room 417, sir. I'm sorry. You refuse a defense attorney? Okay. All right. I'm passing on the matter anyway. Have a seat, please. Thank you.
6 hours later.
All right, I'm recalling it. Recalling case number 233500520, Peter Sarowski versus Jamel Crowell of 5351 Helen Street in the city of Detroit. This is the recall of a complaint for non-payment of rent. The matter is set for pretrial. Sir, can I have your name one more time?
Peter Sarowski.
Thank you for your patience today, Mr. Sarowski. The court notes that the defendant was present. I just saw him up to maybe about 15 minutes ago. This matter was scheduled for 9:30. The court called the matter maybe about an hour ago. I'm not exactly sure. The defendant was present. The defendant placed his name on the record. The defendant also took an oath to give truthful testimony. And when the court gave the defendant an opportunity to refute the plaintiff's statements as to rent that was owed, the defendant did present a screenshot of, it looks like, the city of Detroit's rental map website, which shows properties that are in compliance or not in compliance with the city of Detroit's rental ordinance, which does require that property be registered and that the owner have a certificate of compliance in order to place someone in the property and to collect rent. When I asked Mr. Crowell if he placed the rent in escrow, instead of answering me, he started to breathe deeply and stare at me. And so I asked Mr. Crowell if he needed a moment to, gather himself. Sometimes people get nervous or whatever. He kept saying that he did not need a moment, but every time I asked him a question, he would start breathing deeply and stare at me. And so I passed on the matter to allow him to gather his thoughts. I just recall the matter. He is not here. I will state that in response to, Mr. Crowell's legal defense that the plaintiff is not in compliance with the city's rental ordinance, there's a section of the ordinance that I'll just read it. It says, notwithstanding section 8-15-35D of this code and subject to subsections E and F of this section, it shall be unlawful for an owner to allow any unoccupied rental property to be occupied or to collect rent from a tenant for occupancy of a rental property during or for any time in which there is not a valid certificate of compliance for the rental property. It then goes on to say that tenants of an occupied rental property that lacks a certificate of compliance shall pay the rent that would otherwise have been due into an escrow account, which is established by the Buildings, Safety, Engineering, and Environmental Department with the third party financial institution. If the owner of the rental property obtains a certificate of compliance within the first 90 days in which payments are made into the escrow account, the rent in the escrow account shall be paid to the owner, less the actual administrative fee charged by the third party financial institution. And then it says if the owner fails to obtain a certificate of compliance within those first 90 days, the rent in the escrow account shall be paid at the end of those 90 days to the tenant, less the actual administrative fee charged by the third party financial institution. The ordinance goes on and on. Basically what this is there is an obligation, sir, as a landlord upon you to get your property registered and to obtain a certificate of compliance with the city of Detroit. You are not supposed to place anyone in your house until you've done that, and you are not supposed to collect rent from anyone until you've done that. But the ordinance also requires the tenants, if they learn that the property lacks the certificate of compliance, the ordinance, as I interpret it, requires the tenants to place the rental amount into an escrow account. I do think I asked Mr. Crowell if he had done that, and that's when I did not receive a response. And so the court I wish he was here so that I could question him again. Mr. Sarowski, are you aware of the tenant paying the rental amount into an escrow account? Okay, so I'm going to enter a judgment. So you said the rent was $1,500. How much in court costs? Let me see. I know you probably paid what, $55 to file this?
Only what the bailiff cost me. I think 55 is, 55 plus 35.
So that takes us to $1,590. So the court is going to enter a default judgment because I did pass on this matter and I don't know where the defendant went. And oh wait, here he comes. Okay, sir, can you come step to the podium? You're just in time. Hello again, sir. Can you state your name? Okay, Mr. Crowell, you are still under oath. You were sworn before. All right, Mr. Crowell, I just went through this whole thing, but I'll go through it again. So you raised the defense as to why you have not paid the rent in the past 2 months. You stated that the property does not have a certificate of compliance, correct?
Actually, that is part of, and also I want to as well establish that 36th District Court does not have subject matter jurisdiction. Also that I have been scammed. I'm also under the court transport the arrest, and I want to also make sure that it's stated in the record.
Were you finished? Okay.
I think this man might be under the influence of something because he's acting very strange.
Because there is no subject matter jurisdiction that is established, I do not apply. I have not waived any of my rights as well.
Okay, well, that is your assertion. The court does have jurisdiction though. This court has jurisdiction over property that is located within the city of Detroit. Do you live in the city of Detroit, sir? That's a yes or no question. Do you live in the city of Detroit? Okay, I'm working with you because I understand, you know, sometimes people get nervous or excited or whatever, and they have to take deep breaths. I encourage my children to do it all the time, but I need some kind of indication from you that you're going to respond to my questions. If not, I'm just going to proceed as you being non-responsive. So do you live in the city of Detroit?
I would also like to assert that the Michigan court rules are not being followed at this moment. In the record, I would like to establish that.
Okay, so you're not going to respond to my questions. I'll note that you non-responsive. But the summons. So the summons and complaint indicate that the property is located within the city of Detroit, and so does the rental map that you submitted to the court. Okay. Like I said,
evidence that is also established here as far as the contract that this whole case is established under California law.
Sir, you were living in the house and rent is owed. Whether this contract says it's California law or Michigan law or whatever, you are in Michigan. The house is in Michigan. The house is in Detroit. You've been living in the house. You owe rent. Now, I am aware of your defense that the property is not in compliance. And as I stated before, I'll read to you what I just read on the record before you came back into the courtroom. I think I asked you if you were placing the rent into escrow. I need to know, have you been placing the rent into escrow?
I have been scammed. So that is why rent has not been paid.
How were you scammed, sir?
Because the rental agreement is from another state. And the state in which the rental agreement is actually exercised in is different than the state of the governing law.
That's not germane here. I mean, you're under contract. You are under contract to pay rent. And so I guess I should ask you, how would you like to see this case be resolved?
I would like to the case, I demand the case be dismissed.
Based on the fact that you entered into a contract that you're saying is to be interpreted under California law? Is that why?
Because the 36th District Court does not have jurisdiction over California law or contracts that are in California.
But 36th District Court does have jurisdiction over property that is located in the city of Detroit. And the property is located in the city of Detroit.
Excuse me, sir, but the loophole that you thought you found isn't going to work. Just because the rental agreement has a typo doesn't mean you don't owe the rent. You stayed in the place, you owe the rent. Now, to the other thing that the judge that you brought up with the place not being in compliance, just like the judge explained, when that happens, a tenant puts the rent in an escrow account, which is something you did not do. Now, the reason for the escrow account is because then the judge will then determine how much of that will go to the landlord and then how much will go to you. But you place nothing in an escrow account because you thought you found a loophole to not pay rent. These sovereign citizens are such bums. It is disgusting. You owe this man the money and you will have to pay, and hopefully you also get evicted.
And so you are living in this man's house, but you don't want to pay rent, is what I'm gathering. Are you planning on moving out of the house? Okay, well, like I said before, so I just read section 8-15-82 of the Detroit City Code. And this is the portion of the ordinance that deals with registration of rental property. And I'm going to read you exactly what it says word for word. This is section 8-15-82 subsection D. It says, notwithstanding section 8-1535D of this code and subject to subsections E and F of this section, it shall be unlawful for an owner to allow any unoccupied rental property to be occupied or to collect rent from a tenant for occupancy of a rental property during or for any time in which there is not valid certificate of compliance for the rental property. Tenants of an occupied rental property that lacks a certificate of compliance shall pay the rent that would otherwise have been due into an escrow account, which is established by the Building Safety Engineering and Environmental Department with a third-party financial institution. If the owner of the rental property obtains a certificate of compliance within the first 90 days in which payments are made into the escrow account, the rent in the escrow account shall be paid to the owner, less the actual administrative fee charged by the third-party financial institution. If the owner fails to obtain a certificate of compliance within those first 90 days, the rent in the escrow account shall be paid at the end of those 90 days to the tenant, less the actual administrative fee charged by the third-party financial institution. So it says thereafter the tenant shall continue paying rent into the escrow account until the owner obtains a certificate of compliance. And this goes on and on and on. You can look up the ordinance on the website if you like. But basically what that means is, sir, although the plaintiff is under an obligation to obtain a certificate of compliance, you are also under an obligation. If he doesn't have the certificate of compliance, you are under an obligation to pay the amount of rent into the city's VC'd escrow. And that is why I asked you if you have been paying into the city's VC'd escrow. And even on this evidence that you submitted to the court, which is a screenshot of the rental map from the city of Detroit's, I guess it's their, it's their rental map. It shows the compliance status. It does show that this property located at 1 Helen Street is not in compliance, but there is a section, it shows that you could apply for rental escrow program. Have you done that, sir? That's just a yes or no. Okay, again, I'm giving you an opportunity to get yourself together, but I'm taking that as non-responsive. You haven't presented any evidence that you have paid into the escrow amount. And so, your defense, in order to assert this defense, there's a condition which you have to abide by. And I don't see any evidence, or I haven't heard any evidence that you have abided by the condition that is set forth by the Detroit Rental Registration Ordinance. Therefore, I am going to issue a judgment. Sir, how long do you need to get out of the property? Either pay the $1,590 or vacate the property.
The amount that was stated in the record on $700.
$750 per month, and he said you're 2 months behind, sir.
You're right, you might be right.
Your Honor, just do the landlord a favor and evict this guy. He clearly doesn't have the money and was trying to scam the landlord.
Do you have a ledger, Mr. Sorowski?
No, the electronic trail.
Do you have your screenshots from your payments, sir?
Is it possible that someone didn't do something? I think the onus would be on him.
I was actually speaking to Mr. Crowell. I was looking at him. You were looking down, but do you have your receipts for your payment?
I don't think it's necessary. I think you can see to his assertion. In fact, the contract is $800, but I know our verbal agreement was $700. We said that or that. It's all good.
So my question is, okay, so I guess I didn't understand everything that he said, or I didn't hear maybe a part of what he said. Is it $700 per month as opposed to the $750?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Is the $700, what is owed? Is it 1 month or 2 months?
2 months.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's what I thought I heard. I thought he meant he only owed 1 month. Okay, so it's for $700. So then that takes the balance. So it will be $1,400. That's for 2 months of rent, plus $55 in court costs and $35 for the bailiff fee. That takes this to $1,490. That's on you, sir. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you a certain amount of time to either pay the amount or get out of the house. Okay. Now I'm asking you, before I enter the judgment, how much time do you need to get that money or move out? Okay, you said you weren't complying. I'll give you 21 days, sir.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
The property question is a duplex, and the tenant in the other unit has expressed fear for his safety. The tenant, the defendant here, apparently he's developing a drug habit, and he's feeling electricity to be an extension cord sneaked in through his unit's basement, which has led to several face-to-face confrontations.
So just for the record, there's a summons, a complaint for non-payment of rent in the file, as well as a demand for possession for non-payment of rent that was issued to Mr. Crowell at Helen Street on June 3rd, 2023 by electronic service to the person in possession who consented in writing to such service at an email address that I'm not going to place on the record. There's also,
Just that consent.
you didn't give him consent for that? Did he give you consent to serve him with the demand for possession by email? Sorry.
Yeah, it'd be a text.
Do you have that? I need to see it.
What? He's right. I do not have it in writing. The closest I have is Gabriel. Just a heads up, I sent you that thing. Thanks, man. That meets the requirements of consent.
That thing? Wait, we're back on the record. I'm sorry. You caught all that? Okay, thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Oh my goodness gracious. You sent it by email though.
Yes.
When did you mail it, sir?
Memory serves around the 3rd or 4th.
Did you receive it in the mail, sir? Okay, I'm finding that the notice was sufficient. There's a lease agreement in the file. I note that, defendant assertion that the lease agreement does not apply to this situation because it is under California law. There is something here in the lease agreement that talks about California law. There are several references in the lease agreement to California law. This is a court of Michigan. This is the 36th District Court for the state of Michigan. So we interpret Michigan law here. However, there is a tenancy that was created. The defendant does not object or deny that he lives at the home, and that I think he said that the rent was supposed to be $700 a month. So
the cert that I was scanned. And that is put into record that this entire agreement was scammed, and that is why I moved in, that is why I paid them, and that is why also I stopped paying.
All right, sir, and I note that, and I asked you to give me, tell me how you were scammed, and I think you just said because the contract said something about California law.
Well, the contract is under California law. I was under the interpretation that the contract was under Michigan law, and that he was in compliance with all Michigan law in actually, renting the tenancy to me.
Right, and he's not in compliance with Michigan law when it comes to the certificate of compliance. But the city ordinance also requires you to do some things. And I've asked you several times if you paid rent into escrow and you're not responding. And the plaintiff has indicated that you did not tell him that you were paying rent into escrow. And so for you to assert this defense, there are some conditions that you must abide by as well in order to assert that defense. And so I am issuing the judgment. I'm going to do a judgment by hearing. Sir, you have 10 days to either pay the $1,490 or vacate the premises. If you do not either pay $1,490 or move out by August 4th, 2023, the plaintiff can come to court and ask for an eviction writ. Once the court signs off on the eviction writ, that gives the plaintiff the authority to send a bailiff out to the property with a dumpster to set your personal belongings into the street. In order to avoid that, you need to pay the amount stated on the record, the $1,490, or move. By August 4th. That is the judgment of this court. So you have until August 4th to appeal this judgment. Do you have a judgment, a proposed judgment, Mr. Sarowski?
No, I find that fair.
I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, I find it fair.
Oh, no, I said, do you have a proposed judgment? Do you have the actual document? Because I issued the judgment, but you have to bring me the judgment to sign off on.
Oh, no, I'm better than that.
Okay, so you can get that from the second floor. If you can go get it and bring it back within the next at least 15 minutes, then I will sign off on it today. Sir, you can either wait on Mr. Sarowski to bring the judgment back for me to sign off on it, or you can receive it in the mail. That's the judgment of the court. You have 10 days to appeal. That concludes this matter. Thank you.
I have my evidence back that I submitted.
You sure can. Well, I wanted to put it in the file. You don't want it to be in the court file?
I just wanted you to profile, but I also want to copy from myself.
All right, well, I only have one copy. I'll give it back to you if that's what you're requesting. Okay, have a good day. Thank you. 68992.
Now, that was a fair judgment, and it's clear that this guy is clearly going to be evicted in 10 days because he doesn't have the money to pay the rent, or he would have just simply paid it to begin with.